This is CBC Here and Now.
Well, enjoy these warm temperatures while they last because things are going to change.
Returning to the force, officers involved in a shooting 2 years ago are preparing to go back to work even though an outside investigation is still ongoing.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Jeremy Eaton.
And I'm Anthony Germain. We begin tonight with an update on a police shooting on the West Coast that happened nearly 2 years ago. After a confrontation with police in Corner Brook, an RNC officer shot and killed Jordan McKay. The RNC says it completed an investigation into the death over a year ago, and the officers involved are now preparing for a return to frontline duties. This, despite the fact that an outside investigation into the death is still ongoing. Here Now's Colleen Connors reports.
Jordan McKay was renting an apartment in a house just down the road from me here back in 2018 when police got a call about a criminal complaint. They say there was some type of confrontation. McKay approached the two officers with an edged weapon when the male officer, who was new to the force, fired his gun. Those police officers have been on leave ever since, but now they've been given the green light to start the process of returning to work. The RNC have completed an internal investigation, yet the Ontario Provincial Police investigation is still ongoing. The newly created Serious Incident Response Team in Newfoundland is overseeing that. It's expected to be finished in about 6 months. The RNC police chief declined an on-camera interview, saying it would be inappropriate while the OPP investigation is still ongoing. It's common for an independent investigation to take place when an on-duty police officer is involved with something serious like a fatal shooting. The separation is to ensure that there is no bias. McKay was a father of two, and the incident that happened here on this street a couple of years ago sparked a lot of protests here in Corner Brook. At the time, his close friends and family told me that they wanted to know why he was shot. Now, of course, McKay did have a criminal record and was facing charges of assault and breaching court orders just days before the incident here. Now, his family said he was trying to turn his life around and had applied to return to school. The RNC say the officers are in the early stages of returning to work, doing different assessments and training. The officer's official status won't come until the OPP investigation is complete. The officer who discharged his firearm is now stationed in St. John's. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Meanwhile, the Justice Minister was asked for comment on this story outside of the House of Assembly today. Here's what he had to say.
We do not comment on the operations of the RNC or the RCMP. You know, they work independent of our, contributions in that way, so no, we wouldn't comment on that.
A former Eastern Health employee is facing charges for allegedly stealing narcotics and altering documents. In July, the health authority told police that a licensed practical nurse had taken drugs from Carbonear General Hospital. Health officials say the 51-year-old woman altered hospital records involving the narcotics over an 8-month period ending in May. After an investigation, RCMP arrested the Salmon Cove woman and charged her with theft and fraud under $5,000 along with forgery. She's due in court in December. Police in St. John's are appealing to the public for more information about an assault that happened last month. The RNC says a 41-year-old woman was assaulted around noon on September the 13th by an unknown man at a business on Kenmount Road. The suspect, who you can see here, is between 60 and 70 years old, 5 foot 7 inches tall. At the time, he was wearing skinny jeans and a zip-up coat. Anyone with information or possible CCTV or dashcam footage is asked to contact the RNC or Crime Stoppers.
It was a totally different day depending on where you were across the province. This is the scene right now, actually, in Wabush. We're seeing a temperature near -1 with flurries flying, and if you're anywhere really across the island, temperatures are beautiful, well above normal for this time of year. In fact, somewhere between 6 and 8 degrees above normal, sitting at 16 degrees for most of the afternoon in St. John's, 18 in Badger, same thing for Corner Brook. And and we can thank these beautiful conditions for a ridge of high pressure. That's sliding south right now. We do have a couple of stationary fronts and an area of low pressure. That's what's bringing that snow. This is going to continue to bring some snow for Labrador and then some rain for parts of the island as we head through the next couple of days, but I'll have all those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Health authorities from across the province will begin hosting free flu shot clinics tomorrow. But the COVID-19 pandemic means they'll be handled differently this year. Now, they will be by appointment only, masks are mandatory, and you're only allowed to be in the waiting area 10 minutes prior to your appointment. Shots will also be available at pharmacies and doctors' offices free of charge. Appointments can be booked by phone or online. The health minister says many people have already started booking their times.
By the time I left the department, we've had 8,533 people register for appointments, and the site was only publicised yesterday. We expect to see quite a heavy demand on that site. It's a new way of doing it, and we have a call centre as a backup, or for those people who don't have access to internet. But it's a very speedy process, and social media, who's usually very critical, the ones I've read have actually been very complimentary. We don't see that as a challenge. The clinics that have been announced at the moment are the initial group, and as the season evolves, those locations and sites and times will also evolve to move through the RHAs geographically to meet the demand.
Now, for more on this, I caught up with Dr. David Allison earlier today. He's Eastern Health's Medical Officer of Health, so stay tuned for that interview coming up in about 20 minutes. Now, sticking with the House of Assembly, the PCs want to know when the provincial election is going to happen. They've repeatedly been asking the provincial government for timing, but as Here and Now's Mark Quinn reports, the Liberals aren't committing to a date just yet.
Again in the House of Assembly today, Deputy Premier Siobhan Cody was asked if there will be a provincial election in 2020.
We will be, again, responsible and follow the letter of the law, the legislation that was duly passed and implemented by this House.
It's the same answer the party gave last time it was asked. According to provincial rules, an election must be called within a year of Premier Fury's swearing in. That would be August 2021. Journalists tried for more clarity again, asking a minister for a yes or no answer. Will there be a provincial election before the new year?
See, I absolutely cannot give you a one-word answer because the answer would honestly, truthfully be, I don't know.
Provincial Conservative leader Ches Crosby called on the Premier to clear this up. He says he wants the election to be delayed to make it safer for voters during COVID. But if it is called this year, it wouldn't be the first pandemic election.
I'd like to see the Premier live up to his promise that there won't be one. That's what he said before the results of the Liberal leadership vote were announced on the 3rd of August. He promised there would not be an election this year, so let's see him stick by it.
The Progressive Conservatives tabled a motion calling for an election to be held in October of 2021. That motion passed, but it's not binding. Premier Andrew Fury is scheduled to be sworn in as an MHA on Thursday, October 22nd. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the family of Jordan Natterer is taking control of the search for their son. Police called off the coordinated rescue effort on Saturday, a week after the 25-year-old was last seen. Well, today, the family launched drones to sweep the area. Natterer was hiking by himself near E.C. Manning Provincial Park in British Columbia. His friends knew something went wrong when he didn't turn up for Thanksgiving dinner. His mom and dad have flown over from St. John's to help with the search efforts. They say new clues put Jordan in an area that police haven't covered very well, and they're asking the authorities for their records and to reactivate the search for their son. Dominion workers were back outside the Loblaws distribution centre in Mount Pearl today. Last Thursday, picketers blocked the entrances, prompting Loblaws to seek an injunction, but Unifor says they aren't going anywhere. Workers today were setting up a fence at the openings of the facility. Unifor says trucks got too close to the picketers and vehicles started blocking the road, so the fence was brought in as a safety measure. As for the injunction, Unifor says they'll deal with that later. Right now, they're trying to get the company's attention.
you know what, they'll take us to court. They've already got plans to take us to court. We'll deal with that when we get there. Fences for our safety, and frankly, this is a legal secondary target picket line, and I guess it remains to be seen what the company's response to that is. The police have been here many times today. They've made no attempt or told us to take it down. They said provide access to the site, and that's what we've done.
Well, if you live in Ward 2 in St. John's, you have a couple of more hours to vote in the by-election with lots of candidates. Polling stations close at 8 o'clock tonight. There are 8 candidates vying for the seat on St. John City Council. Hope Jameson stepped down from that position back in July. Voters can cast their ballots at the Knights of Columbus on St. Clair Avenue, at the Legion in Pleasantville, or put their completed mail-in ballot in the box just outside of City Hall. Once the results are in, they'll be posted on the city's website.
The pandemic is causing big changes in our little corner of the world, and Here and Now is exploring those changes in a series called Our New Normal. Tonight we bring you the story of a business that was nearly crushed by COVID, but have found a way to shift gears by embracing something that has become a big part of our new normal: masking up.
It has become the new fashion statement. What you have on your face is the new fashion statement. We see a change in people too, because they've adapted as well. When they first came in, it was, oh, I gotta put that mask on.
Yeah.
But now we don't even call them masks. We call them designer face wear. It's been a great experience if something like this can be great. We officially opened in October of last year on a very small scale, and our goal was to produce sublimated corporate wear. So athletic wear, business wear, flags, anything on fabric. And being the only people in Atlantic Canada that do that from start to finish on a large scale, we took off really fast. Yeah, and then we met COVID. With the changes, of course, and the shutdown and all of the businesses closed, our demand for the corporate wear was none. So I said one day to one of my seamstresses, I said, Karen, let's make a few masks. Just to keep us going, try to keep her employed, and that's when the madness started. We were producing maybe 30 masks a day, and we'd lay them on the counter and we'd say, this is what's available. Gail would post on Facebook. And from there, it went to 100 masks a day, 200 masks a day, 500 masks a day. At one point, we had 7 seamstresses sewing 12 hours a day. We've made them for weddings.
Yeah.
We've made them to match ball gowns, graduation gowns. You know, for some, you're going to get those negative people out there who think that we're somehow benefiting from the COVID. And you're going to get that, but we're not. We're just trying to stay alive. For us, just the exposure has what I feel will bring us into the future.
Yeah, COVID made us stronger.
It
really.
did.
It made us popular, made us known.
And it's funny for us now because we started off so small. Now we go and go, oh my God, that's our mask. Oh my God, that's our mask.
It's so fun to
and
go to the
people will
grocery
say,
store, right?
You're the mask ladies, right?
The mask
so it's,
girls.
yeah.
After an absolutely gorgeous day today, temperatures tonight here in the metro area anyway aren't going to really move too much. However, we do have the potential for some rain on the way. I'll have all those details in your full forecast coming up.
Not a lot of information is written in the history books in the Canadian school system about the Chinese head tax.
Tonight, Gordon Ginn is giving a talk about the history of that head tax and the discrimination that his family experienced here in Newfoundland. He'll tell me all about it coming up after Ashley's weather.
This weather forecast is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. Take the time to explore this fall. Learn more at stayhomeyear.ca.
Welcome back to Here and Now. I was one of the lucky people who got outside of the office today, Ashley, and it felt a lot warmer than it should on October the
20th.
Check my non-existent watch. Yes, October 20th.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day today, well above what we should be seeing this time of year. In fact, like I said, 6 to as much as 8 degrees above normal. So we'll certainly take this for October 20th. Let's take a look at those temperatures across the board. However, it is a little bit cooler up through the northern portions of, into Labrador rather. Happy Valley, Goose Bay reaching high near 9 degrees today. And Lab City hovering around the 0 degree mark. That temperature has dropped by a degree now, and it's still a gorgeous evening, although a little bit wet for parts of the island. And that will generally continue as we head through the night tonight as the stationary front works its way through. And it's going to bring the potential for some showers. However, these mild temperatures are going to stick around, certainly in the east tonight. So here's a look at the future tracker. That snow will eventually end and then clear for Lab West, head towards Happy Valley, Goose Bay. You'll likely see things taper to showers and then eventually maybe even some wet snow or some flurries into the early morning hours. And then that'll head towards the coast, but it will be generally unsettled across the island. You're looking at the potential for some showers. The periods of rain for the northern peninsula will taper to showers as well. And then eventually as we head into the early morning hours, we'll see that potential for some showers in eastern areas as well. There's the overnight lows, 13 degrees for St. John, so not moving much from what we're seeing right now. However, those winds are going to ramp up anywhere from the west to west-southwest tonight, 40 to as much as 50 kilometers per hour. The further west we go, the cooler the temperatures. And then certainly for the northern peninsula, down to about 4 degrees for St. Anthony. And then wind staying breezy for coastal areas of Labrador as well, and then hovering around the 0 degree mark for Happy Valley, Goose Bay as you head through the night tonight. Now tomorrow, ridge of high pressure is going to move, another ridge of high pressure is going to move in, and that's going to keep things pretty calm through the day. The potential for some showers will taper off. We should see plenty of sunshine into the afternoon. That's the story up through Labrador as well. Maybe the slight chance of a few showers, maybe even a few flurries in the mix. But then the next system will move in. That's going to bring some periods of snow for western portions of Labrador. In fact, you could see anywhere from 5 to as much as 10 centimeters of snow tomorrow. That's going to work its way across the Big Land. And then for most of the afternoon and into the evening hours, we'll see those clouds on the increase for western areas of the island, and then eventually we'll see that shower activity move in. Here's where we should be sitting temperature-wise. Another beautiful day. Again, breezy though. Westerlies anywhere from 30 to 50 kilometers per hour, but into the teens for the most part. 15 degrees in St. John's. A little cooler as we head towards central, 9-10 degrees, but plenty of sunshine at this point. Again, that rain will move in late day. Your winds will be generally light into the afternoon on the west coast. And then as we head into the northern portions, this is where we could see the potential for some flurries in the early morning hours heading into Thursday. But overall, it should be a pretty nice day tomorrow. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, your temperatures will drop, only sitting around 5 degrees for your afternoon high, and then -2 for Lab City, but it is looking like we'll see plenty of sunshine. So here we are Thursday morning, early Thursday morning. There's the higher elevation potential in the northern peninsula where you could see some snow, certainly up through Labrador. That low slides through fairly quickly, and in behind that we'll see some of that cooler air move in. So Thursday's looking a little bit unsettled, certainly for the west coast, and more than likely we'll see some shower activity as well as we head into the first half of Friday. Another ridge of high pressure will move in, clearing things out, or at least cooling things down, and then we'll see the next one roll in. So it'll bring some more snow with that as well. Temperatures on Thursday, again, another shot of warm air. I have 19 degrees potentially for St. John's, nearing that 20 degree mark, into 15, 16 degrees for the rest of the island. But again, that cooler air for the northern peninsula, and then up through Labrador as well. So 4 degrees for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, with that potential for some flurries, certainly for Lab City as you hover around the 0 degree mark. Not much changes for you on Friday with those temperatures, but there's that big drop. So this is when we have that ridge of high pressure move in. It's going to bring some colder air with it, and then that's when we'll see those temperatures drop. But overall, some sunshine and just a little bit unsettled in the east with that potential for some showers. So after that, into the weekend, it is looking like we're going to see these cooler temperatures stick around. Best weather day of the weekend so far looks like it'll be on Saturday here in the east, 9 degrees, same thing on Sunday, but then that's when things start to get a little bit unsettled. So we're looking at that potential for some showers. Double digits for both central and western Newfoundland on Saturday, and then dropping again into the low single digits. Even the potential for some flurries on Sunday in the west, certainly in those higher elevations, and then overnight lows dipping into those single digits. And then for eastern Labrador, you're looking at temperatures in the single digits, jumping up a little bit on Saturday, and then dropping right back down on Sunday. And again, that snow one after another moving in for Lab West, so you should see some accumulation as we head into the weekend for sure. So just wanted to share this beautiful shot. Look at this, fog bow over White Hills here in St. John's. Donald Rowe shared that lovely shot with us, and basically it's just a rainbow of fog. That's right. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Well, things have changed at the rooms. Perhaps you're one of the many people who have come here for some interesting talks. Well, there is one tonight that you can catch on our Facebook page right after Here and Now. And Gordon Jin is giving that talk, and it has to do with the Chinese immigration to Newfoundland and Labrador. Tell me a bit about how your family came to be here.
So my dad was one of the early Chinese immigrants to the Dominion, Newfoundland, but at that time my grandfather was already here and some of his friends and family members, I guess. Over the years, he came to Newfoundland simply because my grandfather went home back to China, so someone had to basically make income, raise money to send home to the family household.
Right, and that included your dad's brother too.
My dad's brother was here, my uncle, and my mom's uncle was here as well, and many of their friends were here.
Now, some people watching might actually know your dad and your uncle's businesses.
Yes, my dad had a snack bar business on Prince of Wales Street for at least most of my early life, 26 years, and then my uncle, Jim, those of you who grew up in Mount Pearl would know Jim's Snack Bar on the corner of Park and Commonwealth that was in existence from the early 60s to at least the late 80s.
So what was part of the reality as a Chinese immigrant to open, what kinds of businesses? So obviously they had their snack bars, but there's also laundries, I think, were famous.
Yes. So when many of the Chinese immigrants came to the Dominion, Newfoundland, really there was no skill sets that were applicable where they could hang on to jobs. So they went for the easiest entrepreneurial business, which was laundromats, hand laundries, in fact, no automated machines. So that went on for many, many years, dating into the early 60s when automated washing machines came out and really put the end to the Chinese hand laundries in St. John's. But by that time, many of the entrepreneur hand laundry owners converted into mom and pop grocery stores, businesses on the side.
Some of the photos you have in your collection include photos of you as a young person. What was it like growing up in Newfoundland as a son of Chinese immigrants?
It was different. I mean, St. John's in the early 60s was primarily Caucasian. There weren't many ethnic groups in Newfoundland at the time. I mean, I went to a very small school. My sister and I were probably the only Chinese students in a class or the school, all primarily Caucasian students. So it was different. It was difficult at times.
Difficult in what sense?
Difficult in that we were sometimes bullied and harassed because we looked different, we spoke different. I suspect I didn't know a word of English until I went to school because my mom and dad would speak to me in Chinese at home, and I never spoke English.
So that's the personal side. Now, obviously, Gordon, one of the serious things you're going to be talking about is a matter of provincial and national shame, and that's the head tax. Just down the street from us, across from the Basilica, there's a remarkable photo in your collection. Can you explain that picture?
Yes, so tonight you will see a photo. Actually, that photo is in our Chinese head tax monument in downtown St. John's. That photo is a representation. It's the most iconic photo of its time, taken in October 1940 during a visit of the Chinese Consul General to the Dominion in Newfoundland. And he was here to raise monies for the war effort fighting Japan, because Japan had invaded China pre-World War II. So it was a gathering of over 100 Chinese gentlemen. There were no ladies or women in the picture because at that time there was hardly any Chinese women in Newfoundland.
Yeah. And why was there so few Chinese women in Newfoundland? Because that's actually related to this head tax.
Yes, so the head tax in Newfoundland was enforced from 1906 to 1949. The amount was $300 at the time to come into the Dominion of Newfoundland. $300 in those days was equivalent to 2 to 3 years' wages at the time. So for those that came over, they either stayed and tried to raise money, and the monies went home to maintain the family household and what was needed at home. So in actual fact, it was very difficult to come over and try to raise money to bring their families over. And it meant if you brought your family over, you had kids, that cost an extra $300 or $600 or $900. So
yeah, it was expensive.
Yeah.
So, final question for you: what do you hope people will take away from your presentation tonight at 7 o'clock Island time?
I think the best thing I can ask is that they understand that it's not in the history books. The apology was in 2006, so that's well over 14 and a half years ago now when Prime Minister Harper did the apology. But still, not many know about the discriminatory Chinese head tax that was enforced in Canada and in the Dominion of Newfoundland at the time. And if anything, this was a public education exercise that we more or less moved on with in terms of trying to educate people what happened in the country at the time. And Newfoundland was still a Dominion. We weren't part of Confederation then.
Well, listen, I hope that you get a great turnout, even in this virtual COVID-19 world that we live in. Thanks a lot for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Now, you can catch that live conversation between Gordon Ginn and Joey Barfoot. She's a public programming officer with the Rooms, and he's got so much more to talk about and many, many more fantastic photos about this chapter in Newfoundland and Labrador history. That's airing tonight after Here and Now, starting 7 o'clock Island time, and that will be live streamed on our CBC NL Facebook page.
Well, it's that time of year again, time when people line up to get their flu shot. However, this year it's going to look a little bit different.
People need to get an appointment.
I'm Jeremy Eaton, and I'll have that story coming up on Here and Now.
Hey, it's Aoife.
Farai. And Columbus.
And we're three really good friends who really love to eat.
Join us as we put our taste buds to the test and discover the amazing food around St. John's.
We ordered the same dish at 3 places and then we vote for our favorite.
Let's get stuffed!
While it may be pretty mild here today in the city of St. John's, cold and flu season is fast approaching, and that means people will be looking to get their flu shots. Now that's something that the Department of Health recommends that everybody gets. However, this year it's going to look a lot different. That's because you can't just walk into clinics like you have in the past. So new changes are coming, and to help explain it to us is Eastern Health's Dr. David Allison. Sir, how you doing?
Good afternoon.
So what's different this year about the flu shot, Dr. Allison?
Well, it's pretty much the same kind of flu shot that we've had every year. On the other hand, we are looking at the situation with respect to the COVID-19. We've fortunately been able to avoid very much in the way of infections locally, but we need to be concerned that people could get both influenza and COVID, and that could be more than twice the damage.
How bad would that be, Dr. Allison, if someone was to contract both, hypothetically speaking?
I'm not sure that I can answer that in a qualified kind of way, because we really haven't seen a lot of experience with that. But we know that influenza itself can cause significant illness, and it's particularly challenging for the elderly, anybody over the age of 65, and for young children. Lots of adults will get it and get over it, but it's a pretty significant disease.
So last year I got a flu shot. I walked into one of the many clinics here in St. John's offered by Eastern Health. I walked in, took a number, got a shot, sat around with a bunch of other people. It's not going to be like that this year. How is it going to look this year? Or how can people get their flu shot this year, Dr. Allison?
Well, the difference this year is not really very different from previous years, except that people need to get an appointment. And you can get an appointment by signing up online or calling the 1-800 number that's on the Eastern Health website. This year, the main clinic in St. John's is at I guess it used to be the Public Service Commission building just near Mundy Pond. That has capacity for up to about 1,000 people a day. This week, we're just trying out some new staff, and so we're limiting to 800 per day, but turnout is already pretty good.
So every year we ask someone from Eastern Health this question. Now there could be an uptake in people looking to get flu shots due to COVID. Does Eastern Health or the Department of Health have enough doses if a lot of people wanted to get a flu shot this year?
Well, there's two things really to add to that. First of all, there will be lots of vaccine. The department has ordered 400,000 doses of vaccine, which is lots.
Is that more than usual?
That's quite a bit more than usual. I'm hoping that people will show up and willingly bear their arms for the vaccine. The vaccine is also going to be available through doctors' offices if they wish to immunize, as well as pharmacies.
Dr. Allison, is there anything other people should know or be aware of before they get a flu shot?
Just remember, when you show up for your flu shot, don't forget to wear your mask, keep one handy, and wear a short sleeve shirt so the nurse can get at your arm easily.
So as you heard Dr. Allison there, he said the province has 400,000 vaccines this year. Now, according to the Department of Health, it says it administered about 160,000 flu shots last year. Now, these free flu shot clinics will open to the public tomorrow all across the province, and there are 124 sites that people can head to. But as you've heard a couple times on the show, appointments have to be made about 24 hours in advance.
Well, in international news, the UK has announced plans to carry out controversial human trials for a COVID-19 vaccine, and it will involve deliberately infecting volunteers with the virus and then testing potential vaccines with the goal of speeding up the development. But this unconventional process raises some serious ethical questions. Cindy Palm is following the developments in London.
Up to 90 young and healthy people will be deliberately infected with the coronavirus. The aim is to figure out the minimum dosage required in order to cause COVID-19. I spoke with Professor Peter Openshaw, who was the co-investigator of the study out of Imperial College London, and he addressed the ethical concerns some may have.
The likelihood of discovering something that will be of enormous benefit to humanity is so great that the ethical benefit of doing the study outweighs the appreciable harm that can be caused by the studies.
In the second phase that will begin in the spring, the hope is to enlist other volunteers who will be given one of the many vaccines under development. Then they will be exposed to the minimum dosage of the virus discovered in the first phase that causes COVID. Because normally the process of developing a vaccine requires waiting for people to be exposed to it naturally. The World Health Organization stressed that this will have to be reviewed by an ethics committee. It will also need to be approved by medical regulators. This is a plan being worked on by Imperial College, the UK government, as well as a private company called HVivo. The hope is to start human trials in January. Cindy Palm, CBC News, London.
Now, staying with COVID, but on a much lighter note, sometimes it seems an idea shows up at exactly the right moment. And that certainly appears to be the case for Jeffrey, the delivery robot. Now, designed to transport small packages, this device was created before the pandemic, but it hit the streets just in time to offer contactless food deliveries. CBC's Angelina King has that story.
A small robot hits the big city. But for Jeffrey, it's just a regular day at work, navigating downtown Toronto during daily deliveries, maybe stopping for a selfie along the way.
It brings a smile to people.
It took Ignacio Tartavel less than a year to get Jeffrey on the streets. The idea behind it, more free time and less errands.
It's an absurd amount of time. If you sum, it can be up to like 10 hours a week. And so the idea is that we can make delivery very cheap, very low cost.
Jeffrey was created pre-COVID, but was ready to roll at the right time.
Jeffrey, give me my food. Yes!
Doing contactless delivery during a pandemic. The company says Jeffrey isn't here to take away jobs, but ideally create more with higher pay. Plus, the robot is environmentally friendly while operators stay safe inside.
So I think in a few years from now, it's just going to sound ridiculous that we use a car to carry a burrito.
For now, Jeffrey is still in the testing phase, only doing a few deliveries a day, but a handful of local restaurants have already signed up.
It's just a fun way to do business.
Plus, she says it's less expensive than other delivery companies that typically charge 30%. Jeffrey has a flat rate of $3 for merchants and customers.
Like, our industry is very fragile right now, and we need support, and this is an amazing way to use that.
First and foremost, I like to make him friendly and even a little quirky.
Marianne Matias operates Jeffrey. All she needs is her laptop and video game controller.
It really is basically like a video game.
There are challenges: dogs, construction. Jeffrey has fallen off the curb and crashed. There was concern people may try to cause harm, but they're mostly just intrigued.
It's mainly just kind of wordlessly communicating with the robot that it's a friendly presence and letting them get a look at it so it kind of disarms the situation. Doing the little robot dance is kind of my favorite way of interacting with people.
Right now, there are 2 Jeffreys doing food deliveries, but they have big dreams, hoping to one day expand across the city, doing all kinds of errands while blending in on the busy streets. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
She can't afford groceries and paying for 10 ride bus passes every 2 weeks, waiting for this Go Bus Pass, which is it's not showing up.
Remember those two and their Go Pass struggle yesterday? Well, got a good update. It's coming up.
The Newfoundland couple who retired to a life of isolation on Labrador's north coast. Jim and Gladys Roberts, our next archival special. Sunday at noon and Monday at 7.
Well, now an update for our story about a disappointed commuter that we told you about last night. Doreen Anderson was upset because she is entitled to a free Go Bus pass, but had to wait weeks and weeks and weeks. It never showed up. Now, Doreen collects income assistance. She lives on her own, and she is on the autism spectrum. As well, she suffers an anxiety disorder, so Doreen was unhappy because she had to dip into her meager savings to buy some bus tickets while she waited for this bus pass. And somebody from the Department of Immigration, Skills and Labor got in touch with her today and set things right.
Well, we just got a call saying that I'm going to get reimbursed.
Right, because you had to buy those 10 passes, right?
Yes, twice this month.
All right, so you're getting reimbursed. What about the bus pass?
I'm gonna, if it doesn't come by today, they're gonna reissue it and have it delivered through courier.
Oh, excellent. So you got some action. Annie, obviously you've been trying to help your daughter out in this situation. What exactly has gone on here?
It's exactly as it is. They are reimbursing her for the 2 10-ride passes that she has paid for, and they will be reissuing another bus pass because she has not received the one they were hoping that it would show up today in the mail, but they said I call them tomorrow and they will push it and get it put through and sent to courier to her apartment for tomorrow.
Okay, so Annie, you're all smiles today. You weren't so smiley yesterday. It's always good when something, goes the right way, right? So how are you feeling about all this?
I am absolutely delighted. This is something that she deserves and that she needs, and I'm glad that they were able to work so quickly and answer so quickly through with CBC's help. Okay, well listen,
Doreen, are you going to go shopping? What are you going to do now? Your first bus pass ride?
Oh, I gotta do my groceries.
Okay, well good. Well listen, congratulations, I'm glad it all worked out.
Yes.
And kudos to whoever in the government helped you out as well.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Not guilty on all charges. An Ottawa police constable has been acquitted of manslaughter and assault in the death of a 37-year-old Somali Canadian 4 years ago. Now, that death exposed deep cracks in race relations in the capital. The CBC's Judy Trinh has more on the decision and what happens next.
A mother's anguished cries as she's kept from helping her unconscious son. CCTV video shows 2 officers trying to arrest Abdirahman Abdi. Constables Dave Weir and Daniel Monsian strike him with batons, kick him, and take him to the ground. Monsian punches him in the face wearing knuckle-plated reinforced gloves. In 2016, police were called to a coffee shop after a 911 call about Abdi assaulting women. In his ruling, Justice Robert Kelly says the Crown failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Monsian's punches resulted in the heart attack that killed Abdi. The judge found Monsian not guilty of manslaughter, not guilty of assault, and not guilty of assault with a weapon, because the judge said it was reasonable force used to subdue the suspect.
There was no brutal beating. I think we're going to see in the actual judgment that it was on balance, a blow to the pavers when he was taken down by Weir that caused that nose fracture.
Abdi's death damaged race relations between Ottawa's police and its black community and led to protests of police brutality. After 70 days in court, this decision fell far short of what the victim's family wanted.
They are truly devastated by the decision, and I have assured them that this is far from the end of our fight on behalf of the family.
Abdi's family is suing Monsian and the Ottawa Police Service for $1.5 million. The constable also faces an internal investigation after being suspended with pay for more than 4 years. Monsian says he plans to return to work. Judy Trinh, CBC News, Ottawa.
Staying in Ottawa, the Conservatives continue to push for a special committee focused squarely on the We Charity controversy. Now, it could come to a vote soon in the House of Commons. If it does, the Liberals say it will be a vote of confidence, which could result in an election. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau signaled his interest today in a different committee.
We've offered to create a committee that will allow parliamentarians to dig into all COVID spending in these exceptional times. And we hope that opposition parties will decide that they want to make Parliament continue to work for Canadians and not side with the Conservatives who've decided that they no longer have confidence in this government, as Leader O'Toole said this morning.
The Conservatives want the committee to look at why the government chose the We Charity to administer a student grant program. It would also look at ties between Trudeau family members and the charity.
Well, now for a national story that could have an impact on the internet here in our province. Canada's telecom regulator, the CRTC, has approved Elon Musk's plan to provide internet using low-orbiting satellites in rural parts of Canada. Now, this allows the company owned by the American entrepreneur to test and roll out high-speed internet service to some hard-to-reach areas, to say the least. Spacex has already launched more than 800 small Starlink satellites since May of 2019. The aim is to eventually have 12,000 of those gizmos orbiting about 500 kilometers above the Earth. You compare that to traditional telecom satellites that are more than 20,000 kilometers away. Well, it's not clear how soon Canadians will have wide access to Starlink's internet service or how well it's going to perform. The company is expected to soon begin public tests with volunteer households in Canada. The U.S. Justice Department is suing Google. It alleges the online search giant is abusing its market dominance in ways that hurt competition and harm consumers. The company calls the antitrust lawsuit deeply flawed. But as Ellen Morrow reports, the landmark legal action comes just as lawmakers eye the growing influence that big tech firms like Google have.
This is the largest anti-monopoly lawsuit against a tech company in decades. Google, according to the Department of Justice, has an illegal monopoly over online searches and search advertising, a monopoly that Google maintains through what the lawsuit describes as exclusionary agreements with device manufacturers. Take the iPhone, for example. Google pays Apple billions of dollars to be the default search engine on every single iPhone. The DOJ says that's stifling competition and it's anti-innovation. In a statement from Attorney General William Barr this morning, he said competition in this industry is vitally important, which is why today's challenge against Google, the gatekeeper of the internet, is a monumental case. This lawsuit strikes at the heart of Google's grip over the internet for millions of American consumers, advertisers, small businesses, and entrepreneurs beholden to an unlawful monopolist. Google, for its part, calls the lawsuit flawed. It says there's no difference between what it does and a cereal brand paying a grocery store to stock its products at eye level. It says people use Google because they want to, not because they have to. This lawsuit is the product of an investigation that lasted more than a year. It comes just 2 weeks before the election and at a time when tech giants like Google, which owns YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, are all facing increasing scrutiny here at the Department of Justice and on Capitol Hill. Politicians from the left and the right, who never seem to agree on anything at all agree that these companies that are a part of so many people's daily lives have too much power. The companies say that isn't true. In the lawsuit, the Department of Justice talks about structural relief. That could mean breaking up Google if this lawsuit is successful. But this will be a very lengthy legal battle, one that Google will fight with everything it has. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
You just get this weird feeling in here. It was like somebody's watching it.
There was a white, object in the shape of a person that moved across the window.
Creepy tales of the unexplained.
I remember walking home and I thought I heard, a crack of a whip, and I said, it can't be, is that really? And then I heard it again, and I just started running.
The haunting of. Spooky stories from across the province, Thursdays in October on Here and Now.
Well, last week's haunting of was pretty creepy.
So this week's episode is out of Labrador, so stay tuned for that on Thursday.
And far away from Labrador, but still spooky. One last story we'll leave you with tonight. Egyptologists discovered more than 80 coffins with mummified remains in an ancient Egyptian burial ground near one of the world's oldest pyramids. Check this out.
So archaeologists made the find in the historic necropolis of Saqqara, south of Cairo. The coffins and colorful sarcophagi, I'm sure I said that wrong, are roughly 2,500 years old and had not been opened.
The collection also includes gilded and painted wooden statues, and experts say that they are in better condition than 59 coffins that were discovered 2 months ago in burial shafts at a nearby UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Amazing. They still find stuff.
So crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I've seen enough scary movies to know you probably shouldn't be popping those up, or just leave them closed. We've all seen the Mummy with Brendan Fraser, not that trash with Tom Cruise. So we know what happens if you're going to disturb things over there. So
all right. Good night, sarcophagi.
Yes. Good night.